Welcome to the Older Kids Podcast, where we revisit movies from our childhood to see if they still hold up. I am Elliott GB, and today I am joined by a very funny comedian. If you know him, you love him. If you don't know him, well, you're gonna love him. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Derek Sheen.
Can I have an azuga?
Hello, and thanks for having me. Hello.
Thanks.
Hello.
Thanks for coming
all
on.
the way from Seattle, Washington, in my bunker,
Hell
my
yeah.
COVID bunker.
I like the antlers up there.
Thank you. I so only one of them are real. The other two are jackalope antlers because I bought one pair of antlers and I felt super guilty because I was like, oh man, I took a trophy from an animal I didn't even kill. But I like antlers, so I just started buying fake ones because I'm like, it'll still seem kind of manly, but then I don't have to worry about hurting an animal.
That's fair.
I don't know if you've heard of the jackalope, but it's a rabbit with antlers.
Let's get to the movie we are here to talk about, which is The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. All right, so I had to cut the music because of copyright stuff, so yeah, it's going to be a little quiet. I mean, you're not really missing much. It was just all right. It's a lot of orchestra stuff, like 1950s type things. You know, there's those giant vuvuzelas things. This is a huge gong. You would have heard that. Giant harp. Really, you're not missing much at all. Yeah. How's your day going? All right, it's about to come back.
It happens in an amazing castle with a tickle-em-to-death torture chamber and a 500-player piano with 480,000 keys. It's a musical merry-go-round sparkling with songs and dances, whirling you away to a new world of wonders.
Have a smoke. Have a cigar.
Don't mind if I do.
Something to eat. Something to drink.
Dr. T is sweet on Mrs. C. So is Mr. Z, the plumber, who fixes sinks and knows all the angles.
When the plumber Zabludowski has installed the last sink, I want him disintegrated. Atom by atom.
See the dangerous descent from the sky-high ladder. See the whammy duel between Dr. T and Mr. Z. See the eighth wonder of the cinema world, the startling, daring Wonderama in color by Technicolor.
Wow, what a trailer
Second
we
floor
just watched.
Dungeon.
What
I love it.
What
They
was
really
your...
don't give you anything in the trailer either. They just show you the piano, and then one of the big dance numbers, one of the big, like in the dungeon. Spoiler alert, there's a dungeon. Oh wow, spoiler alert, that movie's 65 years old. If you haven't seen it by now, I'm spoiling it. We're spoiling it now.
Yeah.
It's probably free. It's probably free domain.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's definitely just up for grabs now. It's like right there with Dracula and shit. So what was your connection? Because I had never seen it. and I never heard of it. So what is your connection to? Why'd you want to do this one?
So there's three movies from my childhood that I have that are kind of touchstones for me, and it's all because I think, you know, I was raised, my grandparents mostly had me during the daytime, and so they would just sit me in front of a TV and by the way, when I was a kid, all day long, unless you watched soap operas, you only had two other channels, one UHF and one VHF, and all they did was just show old movies all day, and then they would fundraise off of it, or they would, you know, go, here's our pledge drive. And so the three movies that I saw the most were of course the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, which I related to quite a bit, having a single mom and trying to set her up with a dad. Like I kind of related a lot to that movie, but I also just loved the music, and I think it's kind of honestly what got me into music. Like the songs were so fun and crazy and actually fairly sophisticated. being a kid, I really liked it better than the other, like the Disney musicals and stuff. The music was more challenging to me, so I really enjoyed it. But also, there was that, and oh man, what was it? There's the stop motion. God damn it, I have them all here. But the there's a Rankin and Bass had all these stop motion movies they made, and there's one that's all like classic monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy. That was another one that was a touchstone, and then Santa Claus versus the Martians. Those are like the three that I saw all the time. They were always playing. But 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T stood out because of Hans Conried. Like I loved watching that guy be a bad guy, and I loved his voice, and I really loved the music. So it's just one of those things from my childhood that I didn't have a great childhood. So anytime I found something that was an escape, that became my thing. And so that movie, every time it was on, I would gravitate right towards it and watch it from beginning to end. But I hadn't seen it in like 25 years. I think it's also strange. Something else that just popped into my head is that nobody knows about this movie. Like it wasn't very popular. It was kind of embarrassing for Dr. Seuss because I mean that technically I think it should have been directed by Stanley Kramer, and that was partly what happened. Is he only produced it, and it was a new director, and I don't think he knew how to do big, and that movie was supposed to be big, and it was weird. It's weirdly paced. Somewhere around the middle, it kind of falls apart. The end of the movie is weird, and it just kind of, I don't know if you noticed, but it just ends.
Yeah,
it's just over.
Yeah.
It's just done, and you're like, oh, well, I walked away with nothing. So, as a kid, you're not seeing it from that depth of perspective. You're just like, am I entertained, and can I sing along? And watching it now, I'm like, this is another movie. When I grew up, I would tell, when I was growing up, I would tell other kids like 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, and they're like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Just never heard of it. It was weird, like finding a band that you really like that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
So I identified with it, and I always thought it was fun, and I fucking love Hans Conried. It just made me a fan.
Yeah.
He didn't do much. Like he did a ton of voiceover stuff, and some character actor stuff, tons of voiceover stuff. But I think the movie just didn't take off, and he fizzled as a result. He should have been a leading man. He should have been all over the place. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? This is the first time you'd seen it, right?
Yeah. This was the first time I had seen it, had never heard of it. When you brought it up, he says Dr. Seuss. I was like, oh, that's crazy. Thinking it would be possibly animated, not animated, live action, which was cool. It was interesting. It was definitely, this is the oldest movie that we've done on the podcast. And it really made me, I think the second was Flash Gordon, but this was 53. So this was really made me realize like, oh, this is when movies were more like theater, because older movies were slower because we had longer attention spans and shit like that. But it was watching it now and seeing like all the dance numbers and the choreography and everything, and how just like a lot of the shots were just one take. It wasn't like cutting a lot, it was just like, this is what's going on, this is the shot, and it's going to be a minute of them doing the actual scene. And I was like, oh, this is just, in the huge sets too and everything with them, I was like, oh, this is like theater. It's like you're watching a theater show but just on a movie screen. And I did find myself getting kind of bored, which I was like, it's an older movie, it's kind of that. But then also once I got more through the movie, I was like, oh, it's also, I think, just kind of this movie, like you said, it's a little mismatched, and just like there's not much going, especially at the end. It did have some good parts that I really liked. I did like it. I got some issues with it, but I liked it though. I thought it was cool.
I mean, watching it again, I mean, I can totally see where the middle of the film just falls apart.
Yeah.
Like near the middle of the second act, it just hits a wall. And it does. It grinds. It just gets so dull. And it's weird. I can't figure out. I'd have to watch it a few more times and figure out where the pacing issues are. But holy shit, the dialogue gets stilted. It feels like halfway through the movie, Dr. Seuss just like left. Like he just took off and was like, "You guys have my notes. I'm out." And then
Yeah.
all the magic went with him.
Yeah.
You know, all the fun when they had all the rhymes, but they just didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
And so the dungeon stuff, I always felt like that was in the middle of the movie. Like that felt like it happens in the middle, and then they escape from the dungeon, and then they get out. And today, when I watched it again, I was like, holy shit, there's a whole 45 minutes where him and Zabludowski, the other hero, the older guy, the plumber, they're just fucking around for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they get captured again. And then they go to I'm like, oh my God, this is just fucking forever.
Yeah.
That movie should be 70 minutes long. It should have been. And did you know that there were actually 20 songs in that movie? They cut 9 out.
Yeah. Yeah. They
cut 9 musical numbers that they filmed.
They originally screened it.
That movie was going to be like
bad.
2 hours long. They were like, it's going to be the Dune of family musicals. And nobody wanted that.
At the Hollywood premiere, apparently a good amount of people walked out after 15 minutes, which is crazy because I guess saying it out loud, it made me realize, like I was saying, like the pacing of it is slower, and that's kind of how like all movies were back then. So it was like, okay, people were more used to it, whereas now it's like we need to cut every 10 seconds and there can be no quiet space. Shit needs to blow up. We need everything to like keep your attention. But back then it's like, oh no, that's how movies were. You know, people were
We need
used
Meryl
to
Streep to get fucked by a transformer.
yeah. Yeah. But then
if Meryl
it's like
Streep doesn't get fucked by a transformer before the credits roll, people are leaving.
before the opening credits roll, because we need to keep them in the seats. Yeah. But apparently
the movie should the screen should part, the curtain should part, and it's just Meryl Streep getting fucked by a transformer. And then she turns also into a transformer, and then boom, opening credits, and then theme song.
Opening credits, Shrek 4. And you're like, what?
For Shrek 4. Theme music by Phil Collins.
And then the movie starts. And that's your fucking movie. That's your fucking Shrek 4. Dr. Seuss was not happy with the movie, especially since it did so poorly. He kind of never really talked about it afterwards and was like just kind of, I think, just ignored it, like a kid he didn't want, was just like, we're not talking about this anymore. But then Hans Conried has said if the movie had done better, it would have changed his life because he would have been taken more seriously and seen in a better light. So even he knew, he was like, I did a good fucking job, and you guys kind of fucked it up for me. I did all I could, and you guys fucked the movie up.
The pacing's weird. They didn't give him also, it's a big movie, but for some reason, even like the costuming kind of fails.
Yeah.
Like, it's in Technicolor. That's one thing they were really bragging about, that they were going to make like a Dr. Seuss Technicolor wet dream of a movie.
Yeah.
And it's still dull, and it's lit weird, and it's got so many problems just from the technical aspect.
I had some good highs. I had a few highs, but mainly lows that all kind of boil down to what the fuck. But reading up on it, all those are kind of taken with a grain of salt now, because they did really chop the movie up afterwards and rework it, shoot new shit. So I think the original, and like you said, took out like 9 or 10 songs. So I think the original was better. The original cut, I think, was like actually kind of more of what you want, where it's like, okay, they're going farther with it. Originally, Dr. Terwilliger wasn't a real person. He was a real person, but he wasn't actually present in the like real world scenes. He was just the person. You could kind of see it. He was the person on the piano book. So he was selling the shit. And since the kid didn't like playing the piano, he was like, saw that guy's face and was like, you're the enemy, because without you making this music, I wouldn't have to be doing this. And then that's why
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was the motivation. Like, that would have been so much better.
And that was the thing.
I always thought it was weird.
When they recut they were pissed, because they were like, this takes away like some of the fantasy, like mysticism of this character, because now we see, oh, he's a real person, and it's just like, yeah, I don't like him, so I'm going to make him this crazy thing. But it's like, when he's just a face on a book, then there's way more mystery about who he actually is and all that type of shit. So just knowing that, I'm wondering, I'm like, what was the original one like? And insanely enough, Dr. Seuss originally submitted a 1,200 page script for this after pitching the idea. It said he pitched the idea.
But to be fair, 900 pages were just a riff on the rhyme of Zabludowski. That's all it was. 900 pages, just words that rhyme with Zabludowski, and that was it. So,
which is still a feat in itself, because the pages were filled. So it wasn't like one word per page. It was just, I mean, he made a lot of them up though. He made most of them up, but he still did the work.
Frank Herbert level.
He still did the work.
But I didn't realize that, like, that would have been so much better if it would have just been just you having to realize, like, oh, that's the guy from the book.
Yeah.
Instead of this weird tension, because it feels like what they wanted to do was create this romantic tension that wasn't there, where Mr. Terwilliger wants to be his dad.
Yeah.
Just by default that she's a widow. And then Mr. Zabludowski, who actually, is a good guy, and you want that guy to be the dad. And I feel like they reshot that stuff at the beginning then to, like, create this rivalry between Zabludowski and Terwilliger.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that. No wonder. Yeah, that's dumb. I would rather, release the Kramer cut. That's what I want to see.
That's what I want to see too,
trending.
because they did reshoot the opening sequence. And so that was, I forgot, but that was the thing. He was the dude on the book. The kid doesn't like it, so he's doodling on that guy's face, and he's drawing like shit all over him.
Better.
And then the dude comes from the book, grabs him, pulls him into the dream world or whatever, and then that's when all of it goes down. So just reading that, I'm like, yeah, release the cut. But crazy enough, the original cut that they screened for test audiences is considered lost. No one knows where it is. It took like hell. I think all the songs didn't come out officially until like the 90s. I think there was because they got rid of all those songs, and then like 10 years later or some shit, like a bootleg vinyl came out with all the songs on them, and that's how it was out. But then in like the 90s, they officially released like a 3 CD thing that had like 99 songs. God. That I think were all the different versions.
I would love to get my hands on that, because there's some great songs in that movie. I mean, there's some really fun, like, the dressing, the Doomy Doo dressing song.
I want my organdy snood, and in addition to that, I want my chiffon Mother Hubbard lined with Hudson Bay rat.
Just all the rhyming schemes in that song of fabrics that don't exist, like the hair of a Chesapeake mouse and watermelon suede. And I'm like, God damn it, that's like pure Zeus, right?
Yeah.
And get together weather.
Come on, the weatherman's reporting that the weather's right for sporting, and for love and assorted courting together is just what we got to get.
Which is just a fun, bouncy rhyme scheme. Like, those are fun songs, and they're not just kid songs. Like, they're just fun songs.
Yeah.
It would have been great if it would have been done on a scale like Hello Dolly, where it's like the music was front and center. That was the number one thing, and the dance numbers were, I mean, there's choreography, but I'm sure you came in with the same thing. Even the choreography was dull in that movie.
Really?
Ooh. I thought it was dull. I thought it was really missing out on spectacle. I mean, very rarely does Mary Healy do any dancing, and she was also a dancer. Like, she barely does anything. I thought there was fun stuff in it, but I thought the choreography was, it could have been bigger, right? Like, they could have actually, I think they just really missed the boat on it. It always seems like half measures, especially the roller skating thing, which is cool with the two bearded guys, the bearded cousins. They're cousins whose beards are grown together. By the way, did that disturb you? I didn't realize when he cuts the beard with the hedge trimmers, those dudes are dead.
Alas, poor Johnson. Alas, poor Whitney. I knew them. fellows of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. My gorge rises at their fate. You shall be avenged! Tomorrow's opening concert will be dedicated to your memory.
Like, they're dead, dude. Like, they murdered 2 cousins on roller skates just by he cuts their beard. Apparently that was like cutting 2 Siamese twins apart without any anesthesia.
Yeah.
So it had to be horrifically painful, right?
Yeah.
Like, it had to be horrifically painful. But then they instantly die. Like, they fall down and they're dead.
Yeah.
Like Hans Conrad's like, I will avenge your memory. They're dead.
Yeah.
That kid in Zabludowski, stone cold murder. They stone cold murdered 2 dudes on roller skates. Like that. When you step back as a full grown adult and you're like, how did that go past me so fast that they murdered 2 guys?
I mean, it didn't click for me.
They deserved to go in a dungeon at that point. Like, they deserved to go to the 4th floor of the dungeon.
Yeah. They're sitting there, they're looking at the drum guy.
He was a bass drummer in an orchestra I once conducted, had a very bad habit. You know that part in Beethoven's 5th Symphony, where the drummer is supposed to go a boom, 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 boom. Well, this stupid loud always went a boom, 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 a boom. 1 extra boom, you know. He'll be here forever.
You mean he has to keep beating that drum forever?
Oh, that isn't the man I'm punishing. My man is inside the drum.
Please stop this teleworker! Let me out!
And the drum guy's like, yeah, I fucked up. Like, it's pretty crazy. You know, I don't belong here. And they're like, what'd you do? And like, oh yeah, we murdered those roller skate guys. And he's like, oh yeah, you should be here. You, like, this is for you. This is why you need to be here.
You mean the fucking ZZ Top brothers? Those guys were awesome.
Great
the ZZ Top brothers. They were chasing me with their beards on roller skates. The guys on roller skates?
Yeah.
They couldn't even go downstairs.
I was gonna say, just run
Why
up some
didn't you
stairs.
just run downstairs? You murdered the ZZ Top brothers? Like,
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I
just
was
thought
on roller skates too. Well, you could have just gone. They can't go downstairs. There's no way.
Yeah.
They exist only in that flat circle that they lived on, and they had to perpetually be moving in a circle, otherwise they would die. And then you cut them in half. Like,
I mean, I thought that choreography was a high for me. Okay, so I'll preface this. I guess just all of my lows and weirdness was learning it was cut up and they pretty much fucked it up with the recuts and the re-edits and all that.
Like, even the elevator scene, like, they cut a whole fucking floor out.
First floor dungeon. Second floor dungeon. Basement dungeon.
And you're like, wait, what happened to the 3rd floor?
Well, do you know why they cut the 3rd floor out?
No.
Because it was too much. So the 3rd floor was like household appliances, and they say, where is it?
Oh, I'm learning so much about this movie already.
Okay, so the 3rd stanza of the elevator's operator song was cut due to increasingly horrific lyrics referring to household appliances. The complete stanza went as follows: 3rd floor dungeon, household appliances, spiked beds, electric chairs, gas chambers, roasting pots, and scalping devices. And so, you know, you can guess that this close to World War II, the gas chambers part was probably a little too soon. A little too soon.
A little too soon. All right, I get it now. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I always wondered, like, why is there a whole floor just missing?
Yeah. Maybe that
Like,
was just
what
like
happens on the 3rd floor?
that was just like the lounge. You know, that's where everyone goes to take their break. That's just kind of like the chill spot. Water coolers there, vending machine.
It's the break room.
Yeah. Yeah. it's the
3rd
break
floor
room.
dungeon. Employee break room.
The doors
Coffee
open.
maker microwave.
The doors open. You just see someone like putting their shit in like a little locker, and they're like, it just closes again.
Just one of those unibrow Russian dudes just eating a power bar with his shirt off and
reading the paper.
Just
like, you
hanging
see
out.
this? You see this? What they're doing over here? That's crazy.
3rd
But-
floor dungeon. Rest and relaxation. Give a penny, take a penny. Get a snack in the trust box.
Yeah, we use the honor system.
Fourth floor dungeon, hanging babies, all on meat hooks.
That's why I got crazy. It skipped a floor, but so it has to double since the next one. It's like, look, if we're gonna skip it, we're not just gonna make it one more. This has to be really up there.
Fifth floor dungeon, employee parking garage. Don't forget to have your ticket validated on your way home.
And then it's just it's the same Russian unibrow guy just looking like, where did I park? But he's got a briefcase.
It's just a bunch of oversized Russian dudes in no shirts trying to back a Yugo out of a tiny parking space. Going home for the day. Just check it out.
I'll be back tomorrow. So what were some of your highs and lows? What did you have?
I mean, I always thought that the highs for me were always the actors. Like, I really loved the kid that plays Bart Collins, Tommy Reddick, who didn't really do much. He had a shitty life after that. Things didn't go great for him, as most fucking child actors of the time.
Yeah.
But I liked that. I liked, again, saw that movie when I was a kid, and part of the reason why it stuck with me is because, not having a dad, I always tried to push my mom into meeting people, and there was a theme in that movie that resonated with me. But I always loved his sort of the chemistry between him and Peter Lynn Hayes. Seemed really legitimate. Like, it seemed like that older actor really gave a shit about this kid. And so their scenes always seemed very genuine together. Like, there's a song that they do when they're, in his weird little shop, and he's kind of just crawling into Peter's lap, Mr. Zabludowski's lap, as he sings to him, and there's this trust where he puts his arm around his neck and puts his face and digs his face into his shoulder. And as a kid, I was like, that just seems real. It just seems like they really cared about each other. And so, like, there's parts of the movie that that resonate with me on a weird energy level, because Hans Conried I always loved, and I just thought he was great. But there's things about those actors, there's parts of that movie where I'm like, they're doing things that the script didn't give them a lot to do.
Yeah.
And I love that there's this genuine energy and chemistry between a lot of the actors that even the script couldn't fuck that up. Like, you can tell that they enjoyed each other's company. There's a song that I didn't even realize, the one song that he sings, I wonder if I can find the name of it. Because We're Kids, that's the song, right? And Art sings that when he's walking around the piano, right? It's a great song.
Yeah. But
I recognized it not because of the movie, because that's what Jerry Lewis used to end the telethon, his muscular dystrophy telethon, every year.
Oh, really?
He would sing that song. And it had more of an impact on me knowing it was from there. And then when I saw the movie again, I went, holy shit, I didn't realize that he used that song from this movie to close all of the Jerry Lewis telethons.
Now just because we're kids, because we're sort of small, because we're closer to the ground, and you are bigger pound by pound, you have no right to push and shove us little kids around.
It's a weird affirmative, but like, knowing that, I was like, that's kind of, I think, why I liked watching the telethon, even, is I just knew like there was a connection between a movie that I liked that not everybody knew about, but Jerry Lewis knew it. And so there's high points, but they're all weird. They're high points that aren't about the film. I think they're more about like my relationship to it.
Yeah.
And I saw little touchstones where I'm like, oh, that's a little thing that I took with me into adulthood. And like, that's a weird little turn of phrase that I took with me into my grown up life, or a made up word that ended up in my vocabulary forever.
Which ties into what I had as a low, which was like the movie really didn't have a moral or a message besides get a dad if you don't have one. And that's really all he was trying to do, was manipulate this dude into being with his mom, which I found a little weird, but he was doing good at it. He was really succeeding at manipulating this guy with the fucking fishing trick.
Yeah.
And then he comes over and the guy's like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm fishing. And the guy's like, that's not how you fish. No, let me show you how to fish. And he's just like, I fucking got your ass. Like, I just played you. I played you like a fucking fiddle.
Now what are you doing?
Just casting for big mouth bass.
Okay, for big mouth bass. Look, if you're gonna cast, why don't you cast right? Move over, give me the line. First of all, reel in your line, you got entirely too much slack. Now, once you get it in, just pick it up and flick it like throwing a baseball, see?
Hey, look at that fish jump! Over by the lily pads!
Oh, he's a whopper. Now watch this delicate maneuver. I got him!
He's
beautiful.
It's so
I
weird.
didn't even think about the emotion and manipulation part, but holy shit. Give me that. That's not how you gotta cast your line. You gotta pull some slack on it. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. This guy is suckered in.
That's like when I first saw it.
That's right, though. That whole movie is just like piano bad.
Yeah.
Piano bad, get a dad. That's the whole theme of the movie.
What was this movie supposed to teach you? Not that every movie has to be like a big teaching thing, but it's like kids' movies. There's some sort of moral. And this is just like, I just got to set my mom up in the dream world, I guess, and trick this guy into being my dad through the fishing thing. And then also just calling him Pop and catching him off guard. And he's like, wait, did you just call me Pop? And he's like, yep, you're my dad now. Bye. And then just like runs off. And the guy's like, well, fuck. I guess I got to be his dad. I guess I got to do it.
And
so
what's weird is in the real world, like if we want to go ahead and analyze this even deeper, for almost 75 minutes in the real world, that kid is just asleep in a piano bench while this other guy is in the kitchen fixing the sink. In real life. They don't even interact. And then the kid wakes up and all of a sudden he's like, you're my dad.
Yeah.
Here we go. Thanks, Pop.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I mean, in real life, that guy'd be like, I got to get the fuck out of here because the cops are coming. Like, this is a setup. This is a sting operation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get arrested. I don't want to know your weird things, kid. I'm just trying to get this check from your mom. And what? No, our thumbs both have Band-Aids on them? Yeah, because I hurt my thumb.
Yeah.
You fucking weirdo.
I work with my hands.
You also
I'm a
hurt your
tradesman.
thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a craftsman by trade.
Yeah.
And it's the 1950s. There's only one brand of bandage, and it's Band-Aid. They all look the same.
Yeah.
We both had matching Band-Aids. Yeah, everybody had fucking matching Band-Aids. There was only one Band-Aid. It was Band-Aid.
Does that mean I have to be every kid with a Band-Aid's dad? Do you know how I don't have time for that shit. I got sinks to fix. I got shit to do. I can't
Miss Collins, I don't have time to fuck around with your kid. You got to get him a therapist. Look, I get it. He's got situational anxiety because his dad died. That's a big thing, but you got to take the leap here and get him some help because he thinks that either me or Mr. Terwilliger are going to fuck you, and we both are married. So you've just got to get him help. It's not my responsibility to take care of your child. Also, he's just outside pricking his thumb trying to make everybody a blood relative. So you've got to step in and be a mom. It's the middle of the afternoon and you're cooking dinner. You clearly are trying to escape from something. You are in the kitchen all day just preparing food for two people. That is really irresponsible for one and a huge waste of money, but also really seems like you're projecting. Seems like you're projecting a lot on everybody. So just go see somebody. Go get a professional.
Maybe, you get him someone and then you get someone for yourself. It's always nice to just talk.
I walked out to the service truck 8 times while I was here, and he was literally just staring at a piece of sheet music, unmoving the entire time that I've been here. Just off in his own world, his own creation. That seems unhealthy. Who knows what he's thinking right now?
I do love this character of the pro mental health handyman in the 50s.
He's an advocate.
Yeah, he's just a strong advocate of therapy and just and child psychology. And he's like, but also I care about clogs. I want to get those sinks unclogged. I want to get it flowing.
And that, by the way, getting those sinks unclogged, maybe that's how I deal with my stress. Maybe that's my coping mechanism. Maybe that's my projection is the clog for me is an emotional blockage that I have to push through every time. And if I don't, I feel like it's a part of me that's going to get clogged up. And who knows what your kid's doing. He's just staring at it the whole time, by the way. The kids at this point is now just imagine that he's clipped the beard of these two Siamese brothers. And now they've just murdered a dude together. This poor plumber has no fucking idea that he's commiserating in a crime that this kid has imagined. Like, this is the only thing that gets this kid hard through his preteens is just murdering people in his fucking daydreams and involving older men. This is our bonding ritual. Yeah. I'm going to bond with a man. He's going to help me murder the cousins who live next door, whose band is always playing on the weekends. The two long bearded older guys. We're going to murder them there because they had to exist in real life.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only way they would show up in his imagination.
That's true. Yeah, it probably was just like the neighbors, twins who had long beards. But then, he's sitting there. I just picture him sitting there at the piano, just staring, unblinking the whole time, just off in this fantasy world. And then it gets to the part where he murders the twins, and he just gets like this like smile, just super big. And he's like,
and he's smiling. His pants just move a little bit. his pants just move a little bit. And then in real life, we realize that those two brothers, they live like 2 doors down. Yeah. They're the only surviving family members. They live together, but they also survived Normandy. Yeah. And that's why they grew such long beards, is because they're haunted from all the death and carnage they witnessed. But they scraped together enough benefits after the war to get a small tract home in a nice little neighborhood. But this creepy little weirdo is always trying to set their bushes on fire, and they have no idea. He just started acting out after his dad died. And poor Mr. Zabludowski always gets involved. And, we just sit back on the porch whittling and playing banjo, and we see it all the time. But God knows what goes on in that kid's head. Yeah. And the whole time he's just, I'm going to murder you two fucking guys on roller skates. That's what's going to happen.
Maybe the kid is the one clogging the sink or just fucking with it. So then Zabludowski has to come over.
Oh, shit.
And he's just like, this is great.
There's always hair ties down here. It's just...
You're going to love my mom. You're going to love my mom. And he's like, I'm married, dude. And I'm sure
you're going to love both of us forever and ever. You'll never stop loving us.
And then that's where this is like a fail-safe.
Adventures.
This is a fail-safe in the kid's mind, is he's like, well, he won't be your actual dad because you're not blood. And then he's like, we'll be blood. And then that's when he does the finger prick and is like, come here. We're blood now. And we're Boy Scouts. We're taking the oath. That was a fun little Easter egg when his oath or whatever was just word for word the Boy Scout oath.
I mean, I don't
Give
have
me
to...
your thumb.
Oh, ouch.
Doesn't really hurt.
It does so.
Do you, Mr. Zabludowski, promise to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly?
I do.
Courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful?
I do.
Thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent?
I do.
Well, that's it, Pop.
Pop?
Which is weird because I heard it and I was like,
about the Boy Scout oath.
I feel like I've heard this before. And then he got to the end and I was like, yeah, that's definitely, I was a Cub Scout. I wasn't a Boy Scout, but I guess some things just stick with you, huh? Don't tell them.
There wasn't even a riff on the Boy Scout thing. There wasn't even they just did the actual Boy Scout speech. That's it.
Actually, okay, now that's a low because this is, and that kind of ties into this other one that I had. It's like, this is a Dr. Seuss movie, but I'm sure through re-editing, it seems very much not like like there's hints of it in there, whereas normally it's like, it's all, you can fucking tell. But that would be another thing where it's like, it's a Dr. Seuss movie, and yet he can't come up with a fucking oath. He just has to word for word take the Boy Scout one. And it's like, just come up with it. You rhyme all the time. There's no rhyming in this movie, barely. Which is another thing where it's like, Dr. Seuss, what the fuck are you doing, man? That's your brand. And then he has this oath, and he's like, yeah, that's probably when he walked out. So like, all right, we just got to get the oath thing. And he's like, look, I'm going. Okay, you guys got the script, you got the notes, just you figure it out. And they were like, we know the Boy Scout oath. Let's just do that. They're like, yeah, that's cool.
Put that in there.
Let's fucking throw it in.
We'll get the Boy Scouts of America to sponsor the movie.
And then they saw that was probably who walked out in the first 15 minutes was just all of the Boy Scouts. And they're like, no, okay, they're out. We are not going to get their money. Yeah. I wrote brown face ? Because like one of the first henchmen that comes in looks like has a fake tan, I'm sure you could say, but then later kind of
Is that the New York guy without the shirt on?
Yeah, the dude with the iPod the whole time.
He's got a hearing aid?
Yeah, and then he comes back and then he like kind of doesn't look like that. And same with the dude on the elevator. Like he looks like he has that tan, but then in the elevator, I'm like, oh, this actually might just be a black guy.
I think that is a black guy in the elevator.
Okay, because that's what like in there, that's what it looked like. But then when he's
then they had to put a hood over his head,
and just which was kind of freaky though, where it was just like his eyes were super wide, and that's like really all you could see. But then he has the weird, goofy song, with a first floor dungeon, and you're like, okay, this isn't scary anymore. But I will say, surprisingly high though.
7th floor dungeon delicatessen. Sliced meats and breads and a craft table.
It is like
8th floor dungeon.
Storage.
Men's and women's bathrooms. Don't forget to get a code from the 3rd floor break room. It changes daily.
Well, yeah, so I saw that and I was like, oh, big ups for that black guy. But then there was also at the very end, when all the kids were there was one black kid in there, which I was surprised and really intrigued to hear the story of that, where I'm like, okay, why is it just one? But also, like, I'm sure, again, that was argued by a lot of the extras. They were like, we don't like it. And they're like, we don't care. You're an extra.
How many racist producers do you think were like, hey, can we call the movie the 4,990 Fingers of Dr. T? Is there a way?
I know we already got the posters and everything printed, but can we just go back and then, well, fuck, and then they do the whole re-edit, and then the kid makes it through in the re-edit, and they're really just like, I hate this movie. I hate it so much.
Well, I mean, clearly you're saying 5,000 fingers, but from how I'm raised, I think there's only 4,990 fingers that I'm recognizing. That's it. I won't recognize the whole 5,000.
Fun fact about that, though, that scene where they have all the kids on the piano. So it was 150 kids. They surprisingly didn't spring for the whole 500 for that realism, even though they could have fit them in that giant fucking airplane hangar of a room. But it was 150, and one of the kids threw up when they were all sitting there, which then obviously started this huge chain reaction that led to every child throwing up. And Dr. Seuss is quoted as saying, yeah, that kind of, like set the tone for how the movie would be received is not very well.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh. So, which I think that's Hollywood, baby. I'm sure that's what they said. They're like, that's Hollywood. So get these 149 kids out of here, because that's all I'm seeing. Okay.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, here's the thing: you guys don't know Hollywood. All right, you're not making a picture until you're ankle or waist deep in children's vomit. That's the only way you finish a picture here. I mean, oh, you think you made a war picture? You're up to your neck in hot sand. Let me tell you something. You know what? Maybe you were in Normandy. Maybe you were in Nam, but you don't know jack shit until you're trying to drag a lighting rig through 3 feet of thick, porridgey, hot porridge that just came out of a kid's stomach. You have no idea.
And then this dude just gets
the true horrors.
Just the shit beat out of him because he's at a VFW, just getting really beat.
You guys have no fucking. Oh, you made a fucking movie, huh? You don't know jack shit about movies. I was making movies when we were covered from head to foot in hot corn from it was expelled from a child's throat. You have no fucking clue how old Hollywood, how tough it was back then. The studio they always kept the studios at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And then they'd give you free bagels and cream cheese, hoping you would just expel them all over the walls. That's the only way.
We would only
get
feed
anything
the kids.
Finished.
We would only feed the kids soups.
You only feed the kids. It's a motivator.
Oh, and then last thing too was just again with the times, the atomic buzzword.
If you come any closer, I'll blow you to smithereens.
Is it atomic?
Yes, sir. Very atomic.
Atomic? take it away! Take it away!
Oh yeah, everybody said, because that's 53, right? So
Yeah.
everyone's still terrified of the bomb. They haven't even gotten to the Cold War yet. They're 10 years away from that.
Oh yeah.
They're
Yeah.
10 years away from the Bay of Pigs or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey,
We
it's a-
saw what it did. We're
Yeah.
terrified. They don't have microwaves yet. Like their whole life hasn't been completely destroyed by
Yeah.
food that you can make in a minute.
yeah. And it,
Oh my God. By the way, if I had my druthers, I would honestly want to see a reboot of this.
okay.
Like this is what I would want to see. Because I just feel like it's a part of its time. You know, it's
Yeah.
the 50s and you can see it. But I think that the music and the story have the possibility of sort of transcending that period.
Mhm.
With someone behind, like a Baz Luhrmann behind the scene, you know, like someone who
Mhm.
knows how to do a spectacle musical, like a big Busby Berkeley style, you know, these giant dance numbers and,
Mhm.
you know, or a, God damn it. Who did fucking, I'm drawing a blank right now, but George Miller, who did all the Mad Max movies, like give that guy this movie to make as a musical, right?
Yeah.
Like this is right up his alley.
Yeah.
I mean, half the extras look like they're, you know, desert warriors from the Road Warrior. Like,
Yeah.
just give them some songs to sing and get Baz Luhrmann to do the choreography and get someone who loves a musical to make it. It'd be fun. And also now we're Dr. Zeus mania.
Yeah. That's
They're,
true.
you know, it'd be so great to make a Dr. Zeus movie that would shut all the Fox people up because
Yeah.
it would just be the most stupid Republican thing. You just have this amazing, because I mean, it is really about like, I mean, there's parts of, I mean, it's Zeus. You can see the message in a lot of the songs and the overarching, the story arc has, you know, that sort of weird 50s boho progressivism at the time,
Mhm.
but you know, in the guise of a Hollywood movie. So trying to feed people the medicine, but with candy, you know, you put the medicine in candy like an animal and get them, you know, here's some fun progressive ideas.
Yeah.
Imagine what someone could do with this now. And at such a time when nobody even knows this movie exists, it wouldn't even be a reboot. It'd be like
That's
making
true.
the movie for the first time.
For real. That's a really good point, is you could just very easily remake this movie and just be like, yeah, actually I just came up with this movie, and everyone would be like, sounds good. No one would even know at all. And the themes originally, so part of that 1,200 page script were a lot of themes of world dominance and oppression coming out of World War II. So it's like, oh, you just fucking adapt that to, I don't know, like environmental shit, or you know, like xenophobia or some shit coming off of a pandemic, or all the shit, the like war we're at with China and stuff like that. Like, you could easily adapt this. You could easily just repackage it a little bit, tweak it. I was like, I don't know if I want to remake or just kind of leave it alone. That's at first I was thinking just leave it alone, because I'm like, it is in like a cult movie kind of way. Like, it's fascinating and there's good kind of mystical parts and all that. But then we got to the end and I was like, yeah, this needs to be reworked. This needs to be not just left to, he wakes up and is like, all right, it was a dream, see you later, and just leaves. Like, there needs to be something here. So I think I would go on the same route.
There's no closure in that movie.
Yeah, no, he just wakes up and
There's no closure. It just leaves you on a weird note, like, get out of the theater, next showing. I mean, a sequel would just be everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Sequel would just be everybody's dead. And, you know, yeah, Mr. Tool, because he only existed in that kid's mind. So it's like,
yeah,
what are you going to, he had another daydream. You know, I always thought like if you give it Hollywood, they would make a sequel and be like, yeah, it's a sequel to this old movie that not a lot of people have seen. We're going to play with it. We can world build. And it's just, hey, there he's spacing out at his guitar for an hour.
I think I would actually want to see it's sort of a prequel, but also just sort of on the same timeline, where it is from everyone else's perspective, where it's just in normal time of dude's working on the sink, his mom's on the phone doing whatever, and he's just like sitting there And it's just them go, like, we see what's outside of that. We just see them going about their lives, what they're doing. We see a little bit before. So it's him, you know, looking at the neighbors with the long beards who just kind of stare off into nothing because, you know, they're a little fucked up, like you said. And it's him just kind of looking at them like, I fucking hate you guys. I'm going to kill you, like that. So we kind of just see how much of a terror he is on this world. So then we see that, you know, he has these ideas in his daydreams of, I'm going to make you my dad. I'm going to trick you into this. And it's a little more allowed, but when you think about it and you see kind of in parallel with how he is in the real world, you're like, oh, this isn't okay. Like the way that this kid treats other people is not good. It's not, you know, right. He's kind of a little fucking terror. And so that just kind of parallels with, you see that how everyone else is kind of reacting to him, or living around him. They live around him in that world because he's like, I need to control everything. And they're just like, the mom's like, I'm trying. All right, you're a fucking handful. You keep breaking the sink to get this suit in here. You keep pulling random people in, telling them to fall in love with me. Like, there's so much going on in my life. You're like a little fucking menace.
Yeah,
So,
he kind of makes the whole world revolve around himself. It's very weird.
Yeah.
He's the center of his own universe. It's sort of, I mean, I guess if you reboot it, you could just do it like My Friend Dahmer. Like, it's just,
yeah,
it's just that Jeffrey Dahmer story where it's like, this kid's a real fuck up in school. And like,
Yeah.
he's always eyeballing people and making it weird. And he doesn't seem like anybody else exists in his universe but him.
yeah,
And also, he gets a real cold look sometimes. Like, if things don't work out his way, some fucking drifters are going to get it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's told in flashback, but it's just this kid. It's just
Mhm.
Tommy Reddick from this movie, you know? He just hates taking piano, but he also is cold inside. He's just dead-eyed, like a doll's eyes.
Exactly. Yeah. You see some shit on the playground, it doesn't go right, and he just gets quiet, and there's like a glazed look, and all the other kids are like, okay, we're gonna go play another game, and they walk away, and then like 30 seconds later, then he reacts and is like, oh, I'll come with you, and goes, and everyone's just like, I don't know what the fuck is up with that kid, but like, who knows? The principal doesn't want to talk to him because then the principal's like, every time I say something to him, he just talks about how great his mom is and how hot his mom is, and like, it's kind of weird. It's like, it's also the 50s, so we just kind of let him be, you know. We're just like, he's an odd duck, you know, just go along. So actually, that's what I would want to see. I would want to see that, or like the Snyder cut, where it's just like the original. Show me all the shit that got cut out. I want to see all that. I want to see how crazy.
Yeah, show me
Dr.
the
Seuss
9
was.
musical numbers that they cut.
Exactly.
Because you know they filmed them all too. So there's 9 musical numbers that they just cut that are just floating around in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
I would love to see those.
Find them, listeners. This is a call to action. Find me those songs. Find me those numbers. Show me the dances.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the Masters of Horror cigarette burns, pull one of those for us. Like, just go out and find the movie at all costs. There has to be an original cut of this movie that no one's seen because the collector found it. But every time he watches it, somebody dies. All right, like, so he's just holding on to it.
Yeah. It's
we
really
only showed
good.
the original cut one time in 1952 at a Hollywood premiere. And that night, the theater was a theater of blood and insanity. People went apeshit when they watched the 2-hour and 45-minute cut of this movie.
Oh my God.
Tore the seats up, gouged their own eyes out, and we decided to hide this original cut because there's a little bit of the devil in it. So then we just we released it as a 75-minute movie when we took all the good stuff out.
Yeah,
and
people love
that
it.
fallen angel and the whole arc.
The original movie they buried at Chernobyl. Like, it happened and they were like, this is the perfect spot. Throw the spool in. They throw it in, they cover it in concrete, like all the lead and shit.
They just cover it like it's the landfill with all the ET video games in it. 100 years from now, somebody will be like, I unearthed it.
Yeah.
I found it, man. I found the original cut. And then they show it and people are just like, I can't believe I've seen God, just poking out their own eyes.
Yeah, they do that, and then they immediately kill everyone who was involved with burying it, so it never gets out where it is. And then actually, it's
time for get together weather, and it's get together weather, and for The music's right for flouncing and for bouncing. And I can't believe I've seen the eyes of God. Just
Perfect. Well, let's wrap up. Anything you want to plug? Is it who are you? What do you got?
I'm you know what? Twitter's where I'm hanging out, and Instagram right now, because I still don't know what happens with stand-up. So so I do a lot on there, and take a lot of pictures of my food, and do a lot of jokes on Twitter, and just try to stay away from people until you're all vaccinated, and then hopefully I'll come out and see people. But DerekSheenRules.com with a Z is my website, which hopefully maybe there'll be some tour dates up by July.
Ooh.
And then go find all my albums on Spotify or Tidal. If you listen to all of my albums, I get 28 cents every 6 months.
Whoa.
So it's a fun check. Go get that. I think 1 month I had almost 11,000 listens, and I got a check for $16. So I say, I'm in this not for the money. I'm not in this for the Benjamins. Just go in there and get the lulls. Just go enjoy the jokes.
Hell
and
yeah.
Don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
Don't worry about me. I got $16, folks. I'm doing it all right.
I'm making it last.
Don't worry about me. I still have $14.58. Okay. So
I give out hand jobs for money. And the other day I made almost $20, a quarter at a time. I was at it the entire day. It's the longest day of my life.
And boy, were my arms tired. What's up? Re-recording the outro because now I got show dates to plug. So if you are going to be in Madison, Wisconsin, June 4th and 5th, if you're listening the day this comes out, or the week, that's this Friday and Saturday, June 4th and 5th, come on down to Comedy on State, where I will be hosting for the very funny Punky Johnson. Okay, you know her from SNL, you know her from Comedy Central, you know her from just a whole bunch of good places. Okay, so come on out, that'll be fun. Come say what's up. That's it. That's the only plug that I have. So now on to the normal stuff. As always, wherever you're listening, make sure you're following. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, elbow drop that notification bell so you know anytime we drop a new episode or a clip. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us that review, 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, anything less than that. Email me. Let's talk about it like adults. As always, follow on every social media platform at The Older Kids Pod, and check out the Patreon, where just for $5 a month, you can get bonus content for every episode as of late. Not every single episode, but a bunch of them, including this one. So if you enjoyed this one, you want more, boom, head over there, support the podcast, be a good person. That'll be cool. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back next time with another great guest and another possibly not so great movie. Bye.